You've been in a wreck. How much is your case worth? How much is my car wreck case worth? That's what people want to know. Let's find out.
Welcome to Attorney911, the podcast. With attorney Ralph Manginello. Let's get some answers to the most asked questions. We break down the legal issues and provide expert advice to help you navigate life's legal challenges. You might even call us your first responder to a legal emergency. Up next, real-world cases, valuable insights, and practical tips you can use today. It's time to get smart like a lawyer.
When you've been in a wreck, you're wondering, what am I going to do? How do I handle this? How am I going to pay for my bills? How am I going to pay for my property damage? I'm injured. What am I going to do about that? But also what you're wondering is, how much is my case worth? At the end of the day, if I go to these doctor's appointments, if I go to the emergency room and I deal with all this stuff, am I going to be properly compensated? What's the number on that? Well, that answer's tough, but I think I can answer it for you. I give you a roundabout range. If you've been in a car wreck, like let's say a standard car accident that we deal with here is a rear-end car collision. Someone rear-ends you from behind. If they're going low speed, let's say you're both at a stoplight and someone bumps you, there's minimal property damage. What I mean by that is you can see a scratch or a dent, but it's not thousands and thousands of dollars. It's a couple hundred. Then if you're injured, you would go see a doctor. You're probably not going to be treating for a long period of time. You may get what we would call minimal treatment, like a couple of visits with a doctor. They're going to say you're okay, you're fine. You're probably looking at just a few $1,000s to be compensated for that. Obviously, you also want to get your property damage paid for. That's totally separate. But your bodily injury compensation for your injuries and your pain and suffering is going to be maybe a few $1,000s. Another thing you have to consider is that how much insurance is available to pay you for your injuries. So at the next level of collision, someone's going at moderate speed and they hit you and you are looking at a few $1,000s of damage to your vehicle. The bumper has to be replaced and not fixed. And maybe there's trunk damage that your trunk is going to need to be replaced. That's several $1,000s worth of damage because of the speed of the collision. Most likely you have more significant injuries as a result of that. Your more significant injuries are going to lead to more treatment, more medical bills, more documentation of your injuries. So that leads to a higher recovery, if that makes sense. And when you get into those little bit higher recoveries, the minimum policy in Texas is someone has to have $30,000 worth of coverage. So what you're looking at is that maximum number of a $30,000 recovery. Out of that, you would need to, of course, a lawyer would help you do this. We do this at Attorney911. We would help you get the medical bills paid and pay off whatever expenses are paid, pay the lawyer, and then you would get the rest. And so you're looking at a much more significant recovery than the few $1,000s in a minimal property damage accident. You're probably looking more at the $12,000 to $15,000 range in your pocket if you were more injured in a moderate speed collision. Now, of course, if it's a high speed collision, high speed meaning that your car is totaled, the other car is most likely totaled, then you're looking at higher than that $30,000 maximum if, this is a huge if, there is more insurance available. So you would need someone who carries more coverage. Usually people that drive nicer cars have a $100,000 policy or more. If that's the case and they've caused, a high speed collision, then you're looking at that maximum of that $100,000 or more at that point. And if it's a commercial vehicle, they're required by law to have more insurance as well. And so a lot of the recovery depends on the severity of the collision, obviously, severity of the injuries, but lastly, how much insurance coverage is available to pay you for your injuries, your pain and suffering, your mental anguish, permanent impairment if you have that, any disfigurement, and the list of damages can go on and on from there, including PTSD, stuff like that. So again, it's severity of the collision, severity of your injuries, and then how much money is available for a qualified attorney to go out and get for you. So a tough question to answer, but hopefully you've learned something today.
You just learned something new. Attorney911, the podcast, with attorney Ralph Manginello. We hope you found today's conversation insightful and helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode, and share it with family and friends who might benefit from the things we talk about. A new podcast launches every week. That means you get more legal tips, real-life cases, and expert advice. This is Attorney911, the podcast.